Most people who get into real estate think that buying the property is the hard part, but I completely disagree. I think that's why you see so much content focused around analyzing deals, cash flow, interest rates, mortgage timing, all of those things. And that is the fun part, right? I know that I thoroughly enjoy, and if you're an entrepreneur too, you love that chase. But real estate becomes a good investment the second you close on that property. It's the next day, the next 10 years, the next 30 years that make it a good investment. The deal analyzing and purchasing it is just the tip of the iceberg. Don't get me wrong, those things are important. And that's why there's so much content on the internet surrounding this piece. But that's because it's easy to lure people into that fun part. It's the next 30 years that really make or break an investment property. You purchase that, it's not passive, right? Purchasing an investment property is not like a stock, right? In the stock market, you purchase it, you analyze the deal, you analyze the company, you're looking to see what other sentiment is on it. You're looking at statistics, analytics, all of those things. It's fun. You're like, what can I do with this money? How can I turn this into more money? Love that piece. But after you purchase that, you shut off your Robinhood app. That's it. You don't own that outcome. Someone else owns that outcome, right? Somebody else is growing their company that you've invested in. Real estate, you own that outcome. There's a fundamental, critical difference. You're the one who's answering the phone at 10 o'clock when someone's having an issue. You're the one doing all those things. You're the one paying the bills, utilities, etc. And I just want to convey that. I've been doing this for over 10 years. I got sucked into that allure of passive investing, getting into real estate, getting rich, making money, wealth, etc. And I don't want to deny there are those aspects of it, but I have put in sweat, blood, and tears. I've made so many mistakes. And my goal here is to convey those experiences to you, the things that people do not talk about, the things the content creators gloss over. I want to show the behind the scenes. I want to peel back a layer and show it. So, what do I mean by this? I want to give you an example of peeling back the layer here. So, I was hanging out with friends. It was 9 o'clock at night, and I got a text message: water pressure's low. I'll be honest, I didn't think too much of it. I figured I'll call a plumber in the morning or I'll go investigate it. And I'll be honest, I don't do every single one of my own pieces of work. I sub things when I have the money, and I was going to sub this out to a plumber. So 10, 15, 20 minutes later, and this was just this winter. This is a pretty recent story. I got another text: hey, water's not coming out that fast. So I wasn't sure what's going on, but I knew I should probably do something about it. And I was reminded of the previous summer, they were testing out fire hydrants, and they sent out an alert: hey, water pressure is going to be low. Just an FYI, we're testing things. Don't be alarmed. And it got me thinking, well, if the water pressure is low in multiple apartments, I wonder if it's because water is going somewhere else, because I doubt they're testing anything at 9 o'clock at night. Long story short, I go there, burst pipe. It was the middle of winter. Basement was flooded with only a few inches of water because I had acted right away. And it's these kind of things that happen pretty frequently. No, it's not a burst pipe every second, but they're just little things. Death by 1,000 cuts, I think, is the phrase. And that's really what separates and makes this a good investment, is making that decision, the conscious effort every single time you get one of those messages saying, should I do something now or am I going to ignore it? There are plenty of landlords who ignore things. If I had ignored that, that could have been a several $1,000 issue. So what am I getting at? Real estate is a very active investment strategy. It's very active. That being said, I do feel like I should call out there are people who get phenomenal deals and can hire most of this out. But that is not the majority of real estate investors. The majority of real estate investors are just like me. People who had the 20% down, got a good deal. It wasn't the greatest deal you'll ever find, but it was a good deal. Bought in at good interest rates. I mean, we're talking 4% interest rates, not bad, not the greatest you'll ever get. I do not have the money to hire every single thing out. And again, that is most people getting into real estate. You have to put in some level of effort and work to get value back. I have met people who've been able to put 50% down and they're able to hire a property manager, and it's pretty hands off and it is passive. They still own the outcome. If their property manager quits or messes up, they still own that. They're still active, way more than a stock, but they're at least able to sub things out and it's a bit more passive. And that was really a huge mindset shift for me when I jumped into this. I was no longer an investor chasing something like the stocks. I was now a business owner. That's what it is. You're essentially buying a piece of real estate, but you're buying the business that goes with it. There was a period of my life I did have a property management company, but they still sent me reports I had to review. I had to approve things if it was over a certain amount. I still had to plan for capital expenses. So even in the best situations where somebody is handling things for you, you still have to make decisions. Now I'm at a point I put in plenty of hours. I do everything myself because property management is wildly expensive. And for someone like me, I didn't have the 50% down or I didn't get the greatest deal of a lifetime. I'm very actively involved. I'm the one who responds to all the late night texts. I plan for capital expense. That being said, the last thing I want to mention behind the scenes within real estate, there's a lot of things that nobody tells you about because I'm not even sure how you transfer that knowledge. I'll give you an example and give me some grace here because it's going to seem so obvious, but at the time I didn't know it. One of those properties I bought was a student apartment building, small 10-unit building, and students pay by the semester, and I pay all the utilities. That's pretty common in this area. Well, the students, because I'm paying the utilities, don't care. Over the summer, for the students that came, even late spring, early fall, they had window air conditioning units that I provided. Well, I was paying more than my predecessor when I purchased the property. They told me they were paying, let's just say, $10,000 a year in heating expenses, and I was paying significantly more than that. And this happened 2 to 3 years after the fact, and I'm like, I gotta control utilities. It's killing me. I'm barely making money. I need to do something. Lo and behold, I see all these air conditioning units. There was basically a hole right open to the outside that I was just letting heat bleed through. Again, it's just some of these small things. They also took out the storm windows. This is an old building with single pane historic windows. So the previous owner put storm windows to just protect a little bit of that heat. Well, to put their air conditioning units, they removed those storm windows. So not only was there heat leaking through the air conditioning hole where that's coming, the top part didn't have the second storm window piece. I was burning through so much money because of this simple little thing. And again, this is that experience type information that it's really hard to even get on the internet. My point is not necessarily to give somebody a list of all the things to look for, but to let people know that you have to treat this like a business. You want to be looking for these kind of things. Why am I spending so much money? Why are my utilities high? I'm doing this on a monthly basis. The second my water spikes, for some of the buildings in my specific city, the building owners are required to be the ones that pay the water. You can have your tenants reimburse you, but I pay all the water and sewer bills. Sometimes the water's high. And if I see that a month go by, I'm like, hey, is your toilet leaking? This is no joke. I had one toilet leak that cost me like $300 to $400 in 1 month because it was just running. Tenant didn't care, didn't even, probably didn't know about it, or again, didn't care about it. So anyway, I want to close this up. I have been through it. I've done it. I've been doing this 10 years. I'm still doing it. I've got many years left. My goal of this channel is to just peel back the curtain, forget all the deal stuff. Maybe I'll do future videos on that, but there's so much content out there for that. And that's the fun piece. I'm here to do the boring day to day. Here is what you are actually getting into. And here are things that lessons I've learned and experiences that I've learned that I want to pass on to those who are just starting off their journey or those who are interested in starting off. Let me know what questions you have in the comments. I'm more than happy to entertain anything. Appreciate it. Like and subscribe for more. Thanks.